If, like me, you normally only use one or maybe two stages of reverb on a source, join me today as I go on a journey adding 3 stages of reverb to a vocal to try and add some really lush depth. And I found a really easy way to do it. This video is sponsored by DistroKid. Follow the VIP link in the description down below to get 7% off an already amazing price to distribute your music to the world. Now, I'm not a complete stranger to multi-stage reverb, but I have to admit, often the complexity of it puts me off. Meaning it would require 3 new buses, 3 sends, 3 plugins and 3 lots of automation to manage, and the cost seems to outweigh the benefit in many cases. However, recently I've discovered a new plugin called iamReverb which really removes a lot of that friction. So I've decided to take a look at this approach again and see how easy it is to implement with this plugin. So this is not a tutorial today. This is much more of a journey we're going to take together. Let's start with the basics. The basic principle of this approach is actually demonstrated really well with the 3 controls smack bang in the middle of this plugin: close, mid and far. So these represent how a source might sound to you if it was close to you, a mid distance away or far away in any given environment. And the idea is you blend those 3 sounds together to sculpt your reverb. Now, as I mentioned earlier, under normal circumstances, this might take 3 separate reverbs, potentially on 3 separate buses if you want them to run parallel to each other, and then you have to sort of manage all of that. Whereas in this case, I've been able to just simply insert this plugin directly onto my lead vocal, and then I can use these 3 main controls to create my blend. Now, I wouldn't say by any means that you need or should use this on every single source that you want reverb on in your mix. There are specific cases where I think it works better than others. So I'm just going to talk quickly about the source that we're going to use today. So the lead vocal in this song has 3 distinct phases. We're going to have a quick listen to each of them now so you can appreciate what I mean without any reverb applied. So here it is completely dry, and it's starting off in the first phase with just the vocal and an acoustic guitar.
Was it the touch of my hand? Was it the way that I stand?
So it's very kind of intimate, if you like. As we move on a little further into the song, there's a few more instruments that come in, even a little bit of backing vocals. Have a listen to that.
Was it the moment we shared? Was it the way that I dared to love?
And then finally, in the 3rd stage, there's a lot more instrumentation. And this is where I want the vocal to be quite a lot more kind of epic, if you like. It sounds like this currently.
Please believe me, though you...
Now, I'm actually going to start off by setting up this reverb in that 3rd stage where I want it to be kind of larger than life. So what I've decided to do is all of the basic setup of the reverb first before I blend these 3 different distances together, starting off with the type of reverb. I've already kind of selected Hall here. There's a few different types to choose from, and what I'm going to go for in this section of the song, or for this section of the song, is a large Hall. Okay, so remember, I'm looking for something a little bit epic here. Now, because I've got this as an insert on my vocal rather than on a bus, I'm going to make use of the dry wet blend control here. If this was on a bus, it would be fully on wet, and I'd use the faders and the send controls to blend them. But as I say, it's an insert, so we'll start on dry. And what I'm going to do is just listen to the vocal in solo and just gradually blend the 2 together.
Please believe me, though you feel me, this is...
Now, I will be listening in context later, but at the moment, I just want a basic sense of what this reverb is doing. And yeah, I'm getting a nice large Hall reverb. Now, what I'd like to do next is just make this a little bit bigger. Again, in this section of the song, I want it to be epic. So I'll just adjust the size here to get it to the kind of bigger size that I'm looking for.
Please believe me, though you feel me, this is nothing new.
That's fine, but that tail is really, really super long, so I may just adjust the decay here a little bit just to bring that down a tad. Let's have a listen to this.
Please believe me, though you've...
Not bad at all. Now, when you're using sort of bigger reverbs like this, and I think it's going to get a little bit bigger still, it's a problem that you can get a lot of sort of muddiness and build-ups in certain frequencies. So we're going to sort of now fix those problems before we go any further. And the first approach I'm going to take is making use of the pre-delay control. So this basically creates a delay, a sort of a gap between the source and the actual reverb in terms of time. So I'm just going to push it up here to 30 milliseconds or so and have a listen.
Please believe me, though you feel me, this is nothing new.
I can live with that where it is at the moment. Now, the final stage of kind of cleaning this up for me is going to be with the onboard EQ that we've got here. Just click on the EQ tab. You can see we've got an EQ here. And the first thing I'm going to do is make use of a high pass filter. I don't feel it's really necessary most of the time with reverb. This is not a rule, but most of the time I feel that I don't need those low frequencies in there. Depends how warm you want your reverb to be. But this is going to be focusing on those high frequencies. So what I'm going to do is just push this quite a long way up, maybe up to about 200 hertz or so, and have a listen.
Please believe me.
And I should say that this is very much a stage where I would start to listen to this in the context of a song. So let's do that again.
Please believe me, though you feel me.
Now, you could EQ this reverb to shape it if you want. Personally, it's not something I often do, but what I will sometimes do is look at the higher frequencies, because especially when you've got sort of sibilants and things like that going on, it can be over accentuated with reverb in those frequencies. So I sort of haven't heard that problem yet, but if I did, I may start playing around in the high frequencies as well. Now let's go back to our main screen and just have a quick listen to what we've got so far.
Please believe me, though you feel me, this is...
And now for the fun part, and frankly the easy part, I expect, where I'm going to blend these three different types of reverbs together using these main controls. Let's start off with everything turned all the way down, so we're hearing just the dry signal. This is in a sort of a studio space, so there's not much happening on in terms of room here. And I'm going to start off by blending in this close reverb.
Please believe me, though you feel me, this is not...
And I'm trying to get this to mimic the idea that we are in a big space, but the singer's like really, really close to me. So I'm mainly hearing her voice, but I've got a slight sense of the space that we're in, just to take that complete dryness away. The next one, the mid control, is going to give us much more of a sense of the space that we're in. It's a kind of neutral sound, I guess, in my opinion. Anyway, let's have a listen to this.
Please believe me, though you feel me, this...
So because of our dry wet mix, we're still hearing the dry sound reasonably close, so the singer's still present, but we're getting much more of a sense of being in a larger space. But now to add that less realistic kind of bigger, larger than life kind of thing, I'm going to go for that far control. So we'll do that now.
Please believe me, though you feel me, this...
Now, I'm playing this in solo just so you can clearly hear what each of these is doing, but I would be listening to this, especially this particular control, in the context of the music. So let's do that now.
Please believe me, though you feel me.
It's pretty cool, but I'm just going to do one finishing touch. This particular plugin has this far pan control here. Now this is only working with the far reverb, and basically you can inverse the panning of the reverb. And I've found, mucking around with this, that if I do that and then make use especially of this width control, that I can get sort of a much wider, more spacious sound. Let's have a listen to that.
Please believe me, though you feel me. This is nothing new.
Okay, look, I could tweak that for a long time, but I'm basically pretty happy with that. It's making this lead vocal sound nice and big on top of this backing. However, I think if we go to the beginning of the song and have a listen to that, it's going to sound like a little bit weird.
Was it the touch of my hand? Was it the way that I stand?
So I wanted the beginning of the song to sound intimate, and it sounds far from intimate. So this is where automation comes in, my friend. Let's take a look at that now. So I decided that rather than run through the whole process of automation through this song, which would be a little tedious to watch, to be quite frank, I actually paused the video and I set up all the automation, and I'm just going to show you the results of my decisions. But I would have you bear in mind how much more tedious the process would be if it was 3 separate plugins on 3 separate buses. Ugh. So here's what we've got. Right at the beginning of the song, of course, I wanted it to be much more intimate. So I ended up with something that sounds like this.
Was it the touch of my hand? Was it the way that I stand too close?
So it feels intimate, but it still sounds like she's in a kind of a space. It's not completely dead. And the primary way, of course, that I did this was to have a different blend of close, mid, and far sources here. So the close is emphasized, the mid is just sort of up a little bit, and the far I've pulled all the way down there. Okay, obvious decisions there. But the less obvious decisions are things like pulling the pre-delay all the way down. So I don't have any pre-delay in there. It's not really needed when you're mostly listening to the close source here so much, in my opinion, that is. And then the other thing that I did was pull the width down. So I didn't really need any width in this section of the song. So that's just back down to its kind of neutral position. So everything feels a little bit more sort of centered and in the middle. Moving on from there, I wanted it to open up a little bit for that mid section. And I ended up with this.
Was it the moment we shared? Was it the way that I dared to love?
So again, the close position here is in the same setting, but I've pushed the mid right up here. That's emphasized. So we get a much more spacious, kind of airy feeling almost. We feel like we're in a hall. It's less intimate, but it hasn't got that big epic sound yet. And this time I did make use of the pre-delay because I don't want that kind of muddiness sneaking in there, where the reverb can sometimes sort of obscure the vocal a little bit. I want it to still be quite present. So the mid's up, far is still down, although it's up a little bit from where it was before, and the width is still where it was in the middle. And then moving on finally to our much bigger epic section here, then you will see if we play this, I'll just move a little bit further forward, that the far is way up, mid's where it was, close is where it was, and the width is now up, and we end up with this sound.
Please believe me, though you feel me.
Now, at the time of making this video, this plugin has an introductory price of just $49, and there's even a 14-day free trial for you to give it a test run. Just follow the link in the description down below for that. While you're checking out the description, don't forget to check out the link to our sponsor DistroKid. If you follow that VIP link, you'll get 7% off of your first year of membership. Let me know in the comments down below how you feel about the experiment we did today with this plugin. Is it something you think you might make use of? I'd love to hear from you on that. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Mike. I hope you're well, and I'll see you in the next video.